Paul Pogba was the best midfielder in the world at one point in time. In fact, he became the most expensive player when he joined Manchester United in 2016 for over 100 million euros. However, in the present day, Paul Pogba is a shadow of his former self and his market value dropped to only 20 million euros. So what went wrong for Pogba? How did he go from the very top of football to him barely playing any games recently? Well, let's take a look at the rise and fall of Paul Pogba's career. Pogba was born on March 15th, 1993 in Lagny-sur-Marne in France. Pogba was born to Ghanaian parents and has two older brothers, Florentin Pogba and Matthias Pogba, who he had a good relationship until recently. Yeah, safe to say that Paul and Matthias' relationship is definitely broken. Anyways, back to the football. Paul grew up in a very poor area in France and it was essentially the hood. However, instead of doing any gang-related activities, he fell in love with football and was really good at it at a young age. Then when he was 6, Paul Pogba joined a team called Roissy-en-Brie, and then when he was 13, he joined Torcy, where he became the captain of the under-13 team. Then after just one season, he finally got scouted to join professional French club Le Havre, and in the second season he became the captain of the under-16 team and was pretty successful at it. While playing for Le Havre, he was already being seen as one of the youngest and brightest talents in the world and had the likes of Arsenal, Juventus, and Manchester United taking a look at him. Then in 2009, Pogba announced that he was going to be leaving Le Havre to join the youth academy of Manchester United. However, this came with some controversy because Le Havre was surprised that Pogba just accepted this move since he wasn't allowed to just make up his mind and leave the club without informing Le Havre. The French club was so furious that they even released an official statement criticizing the Pogba family and Manchester United, and even asked FIFA to take a look at the situation. However, after a lot of back and forth, Manchester United was cleared of any wrongdoing by a judge appointed by FIFA, and Le Havre had no choice but to agree a deal with Manchester United for the transfer of Pogba. Paul Pogba's career already started with a lot of controversy, and trust me, this isn't going to be the end of it either. Now, Pogba was killing it for the Manchester United youth teams. He finished his first under-18 campaign with the English club by getting 7 goals in 21 appearances, while also helping United win some youth trophies as well. And then a year after he joined Man United, he was called up to the club's reserve team, and he impressed a lot in the midfield. In fact, Pogba was performing so well that in February 2011, Pogba was one of the 4 academy players promoted to the first team by the legendary Sir Alex Ferguson. He then kept going back and forth between training with the first team and with the reserve team, and then in the 2011-12 season, Sir Alex confirmed that Pogba was going to feature a little bit for the senior team. And then in the League Cup tie against Leeds, Pogba made his professional debut for Manchester United as a halftime substitute. He then went on to only make 7 professional appearances for United in the 11-12 season. Now, this season was actually Pogba's last year on his contract, and he was offered to sign another contract for the club. However, Paul realized he wasn't going to be able to achieve his dreams of becoming a top footballer if he stayed at United, since Sir Alex Ferguson wasn't playing him as much as Pogba wanted. Therefore, in July 2012, prodigy Paul Pogba decided to join Juventus. Sir Alex Ferguson was pretty mad at Paul leaving, stating that it is disappointing. I don't think Pogba showed us any respect at all, to be honest. I'm quite happy if footballers carry on that way. They're probably better off doing it away from us. Now, although Sir Alex was mad, I think Pogba made the right decision to leave Manchester United. The United midfield was clearly losing its strength, with Scholes retiring and United's generation becoming older, and Pogba was still not getting any game time, so it was smart of him to move on, in my opinion. Anyways, when Paul Pogba joined Juventus, he was pretty much immediately with the first team. In fact, Pogba's first competitive appearance for the Italian club was a start, and he went the full 90 minutes against Chievo. He was also consistently playing Champions League football for Juventus as well, already playing a more significant role than he was at United. Then against Napoli, he scored his first ever professional goal, and for the rest of the season, he was continuously praised by several Italian media outlets as the next football star. In total for the 12-13 season, Pogba went on and got 5 goals in 37 games. Not bad for his first full pro season. Then, with Pogba's impressive performances with Juventus and younger youth teams with France, he was called up to be the captain of the under-20 France team at the 2013 U20 World Cup. Pogba performed really well, with him playing a significant role in helping France win their first ever U20 World Cup, and was even named the best player of the tournament. Safe to say, Pogba was already well on his way to becoming an elite baller. For the 2013-14 season, Paul Pogba only continued to make waves in the footballing world. He had another impressive season, even though he was very young, with him getting 9 goals and 16 assists in 51 games, with him being available for almost every single Juventus game that season. Additionally, in the 13-14 season, Pogba was named the winner of the Golden Boy Award in 2013, which means he was the best young player in Europe at the time. A month later, he was named by The Guardian as one of the 10 most promising players in Europe. Pogba kept on winning man of the match performances in the Serie A and became a key player for Juventus, and with the help of Paul Pogba's supreme talent, he helped Juventus win back-to-back Serie A titles under Antonio Conte, and also helped the club reach the semifinals of the Europa League. Pogba performed so well that even though he was still relatively young, he was named to be on the roster of the 2014 World Cup in Brazil. He featured in France's first World Cup game against Honduras and got an assist in a 5-2 win against Switzerland. Then in the round 16 against Nigeria, Pogba scored the opening goal in a 2-0 win and was named man of the match. Not only that, Pogba was named the best young player of the tournament as well. It was safe to say that Pogba was definitely going to be the next superstar in football, and he was for some time. The 14-15 season arrived and Juventus got another manager, Massimiliano Allegri. Regardless of the manager change, Pogba thrived this season. In a 41 51 games, he got 10 goals and 11 assists, his first time getting double digits in both categories. Not only did he perform well, but in the season he was named as one of the 23 shortlisted candidates for the 2014 Ballon d'Or when he was only 21 years old, being the youngest player on that list. He was also awarded the Bravo Award, which is for the best under 23 player who participated in European competitions. He made history for Juventus as well, with him making his 100th appearance for the club. Everything was going good for Paul Pogba until the round 16 in the Champions League against Borussia Dortmund. That's because Pogba injured his hamstring in that game, his first major injury, and was ruled out for 2 months. Then, while he was injured, Juventus had to face Real Madrid in the semi-finals. However, Pogba made the all-important assist in the second leg of that tie to send Juventus to the Champions League final. It seemed like it was finally Juventus' year to win the Champions League, and Pogba made it back just in time, and he was performing great as usual. However, Juventus were no match against prime MSN and lost the Champions League final 3-1. Regardless of that disappointing result, Pogba still had a historic season for himself, and for that he was rewarded. That's because before the 15-16 season, Pogba was named to the 10-man shortlist for the 2015 UEFA Best Player in Europe award. Not only that, Pogba was awarded with the prestigious number 10 shirt, which was previously worn by the likes of Del Piero, Roberto Baggio, Platini, etc. With this, it seemed like Juventus wanted Paul Pogba to be the face of the club, as he was en route to becoming a club legend. Now in the 15-16 season, Paul Pogba had more responsibility in the midfield, with midfield genius Andrea Pirlo leaving the club. Paul Pogba lived up to the challenge though, with him getting 10 goals in all competitions and also 13 assists in the entire season. The assist Paul Pogba had him topping the assist chart and also helped Juventus secure the domestic double in that season for the second time in a row. Also, Pogba went on to be selected in the 2015 FIFA Pro World XI, which is a huge honor for him. Anyways, Pogba was set to be a club legend for Juventus, with everything going his way by him being the new face of the Italian club. However, something happened in the summer that changed everything. But before we talk about that, we have to mention Euro 2016, where Paul Pogba was selected to be a part of the France squad. Now at the 2016 Euros, Pogba initially didn't perform that well. In fact, he was being criticized all over social media in the group stages, with a few critics asking the question if Pogba was the most overrated player in the world or not. However, in the quarterfinal against Iceland, he silenced all the doubters by scoring against the newcomers. Not only that, he put in a dominant midfield stint and helped France beat Iceland 5-2. Then in the semifinals against Germany, he was given more of an advanced role in the midfield, which Paul obviously liked. And this helped to create Griezmann's second goal in the match as France went on to defeat Germany 2-0. However, France didn't end up winning the Euros on home soil after losing to Portugal in extra time 1-0. Anyways, 1 month after the Euros, there was a ton of transfer talk around Paul Pogba, even though he was set to be a mainstay on the Juventus team for years to come. In fact, Juventus had no obligation to sell him, with Paul having a few more years in his contract. However, Manchester United wanted to undo the damage they've done by letting Paul Pogba go for free and put in a bid of 105 million euros to get Paul back to Old Trafford. This was something Juventus couldn't resist. I mean, this was a transfer record offer at the time, and nobody's seen this type of money for a player before. That's when Juventus came to an agreement with Manchester United, and Paul Pogba was set to return to the English club he left for free. Imagine being Manchester United in this situation. They had a superstar, fumbled him, and then they had to pay over 100 mil to get him back. That's just too funny. Now, Paul Pogba's first season back at Manchester United didn't go so well. His output decreased on the pitch, with him only managing to get 9 goals and 6 assists in 51 games. Additionally, on the pitch, it felt like sometimes he didn't know his role well, and he lacked tactical discipline, and a lot of English pundits ran away with this and criticized him heavily from the jump. Jose Mourinho, though, manager of Manchester United at the time, took to Pogba's defense, calling the critics Einsteins for being too quick to judge Pogba. Still though, Paul didn't have an impressive season by any means, and he was nowhere close to living up to that 100 million plus price tag. However, it wasn't all negative for Pogba. That's because in the Europa League final, Paul Pogba scored in the 18th minute against Ajax to help United beat Ajax 2-0, giving United their first continental trophy in 9 years. So although Pogba didn't have much of an impressive season, he was still a big player that showed up in big games. The next 17-18 season, things got worse for Paul Pogba. Not stats wise though, because he still got 6 goals and 12 assists in all competitions, which is 3 contributions better than last season's. However, even though Pogba was on a hot start, getting 2 goals and 2 assists in his first 4 Premier League games, he was disrupted with a thigh muscle rupture. Then when he came back, he was cited to have a lack of discipline, and all in all just fell out of favor with the man who once defended him, Jose Mourinho, who started to prefer Scott McTominay over him. That's kinda crazy, not gonna lie. Regardless, Pogba did have a very iconic moment this season, with him preventing Man City the Premier League title being won against United with his 2 clutch goals to win the game away 3-2 against their better rivals. Regardless, that was probably the only and most iconic moment of the season for Paul Pogba. Now, despite having some injury issues and not being in the best form, Paul Pogba was still obviously selected to be in the France squad for the 2018 World Cup. But real quick before we talk about that, please remember to subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it, and it means a lot, so thank you. Anyways, he was integral to France winning the World Cup as well, with him taking the shot that gave France the 2-1 win over Australia. Then after impressive performances in the rest of the games, Pogba and France were in the World Cup final against Croatia. That's when in the final, Pogba extended France's lead over Croatia 3-1 with an amazing strike from the edge of the penalty area, and France won the World Cup with a score of 4-2. Paul Pogba might have not been the most impressive player for his club, but he showed with France France that his world-class talent was still there. And in the 18-19 season, Paul Pogba showed that exact talent, with him getting 16 goals and 11 assists in 47 games. Not only is this output the most impressive Pogba has ever gotten, but he also managed to get through the season by being fit for most of the games. However, for the first part of the season, Paul Pogba didn't do so well. That's because he and Jose Mourinho were still not on the best of terms, and Mourinho benched him for a lot of the games, including the 3-1 thrashing that Liverpool gave them at Anfield, which saw Mourinho getting fired. However, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer stepped in, and Pogba saw a revival in form. Pogba went on to score some really important goals against the likes of Fulham, Chelsea, and Crystal Palace. But towards the very end of the season, he started showing his inconsistencies again, and he was getting abused for it. Regardless though, Pogba made it through to the end of the season without any major injury, and had the most productive season of his career. Now right after this amazing season for Pogba is when things started to go downhill. In the summer of 2019, he was linked to a move away from the English club, saying it could be time for a new challenge, with Real Madrid and Juventus linked to signing the player. However, Paul Pogba stayed in Manchester United, but was getting a lot of abuse from fans for his poor performances. Then against Southampton, Pogba suffered an ankle injury, and this put him out for a month. He then came back against Arsenal, but then suffered another injury to the ankle as well, and would be out for 2 months all the way until December. That's when Pogba came back and managed to make 2 appearances against Watford and Newcastle. But then he got injured again in the ankle and got surgery, which put him out of action for another couple of months. Overall, in this injury-prone season for Pogba, he only managed to get 1 goal and 4 assists in 22 games. As you can see, Pogba's signs of being injury-prone started to show a lot. In the 2021 season, Pogba was still hit with a couple of injury issues to his ankle and hamstring, but overall, he still did decent, with him getting 6 goals and 9 assists in 42 games. The addition of Bruno Fernandes to the squad seemed to rejuvenate Pogba a little bit as well, with him being better from the previous season. Regardless, Paul Pogba was supposed to be the superstar of the team, but now it seemed like he wasn't going to be the face of United anymore with Bruno around. Regardless, Man United overall performed well and got Champions League football for next season, and they also made it to the Europa League final, in which they lost to Villarreal after 22 penalties. Now, Pogba's decent performances for United did get him selected for the Euro 2020 squad for France, and Pogba played pretty well, with him assisting Karim Benzema in a 2-2 draw against Portugal, which saw France top the group. Then against Switzerland, he scored a crazy 25-yard strike in the round of 16. However, France later lost to Switzerland and had a disappointing tournament overall. Now, the 21-22 season went back to being terrible for Paul Pogba. In 27 games in the season, he only managed to get 1 goal and 9 assists. Then against Liverpool, he came on at halftime and got a red card 15 minutes later, and Liverpool went on to thrash United 5-0 at Old Trafford. Then, after the red card suspension, Paul Pogba suffered a serious hamstring injury, which kept him out for a few months. With Pogba's injury issues and the fact that he wasn't one of the star players for Man United anymore, it was all but certain that Pogba would leave Manchester United after his contract expired in the summer, and that's exactly what he did. In July 2022, Paul Pogba announced that he was going to return to Juventus on a 4-year contract. This guy really went from Manchester United to Juventus, back to United, and now back to Juventus. What is Pogba doing, bruh? Anyways, Paul Pogba received the number 10 jersey for Juventus and was set to be a key player in the squad. However, in a preseason friendly in the United States, Pogba injured his meniscus and was sidelined for 2 months. Then in September, Paul Pogba got into more controversy while he was injured. Paul Pogba's own brother, Matthias Pogba, released a ton of videos aiming to expose Paul Pogba for all the alleged things he's done. Matthias said things like his brother Paul mixed with criminals, and that Paul employed a witch doctor that cursed Kylian Mbappe in a Champions League match against Manchester United. Not only did this family drama happen to Paul, but Pogba told investigators that he was intimidated by armed men while he was in France for friendly games with the national team. Pogba has said that he was taken into an apartment by old friends who tried to take his money from him, and also that one of his friends used his credit card to try and steal 200,000 euros. This drama that Paul Pogba has is crazy, and it goes from bad to worse for Pogba too, because he was supposed to be fit for the 2022 World Cup. However, Paul faced a heavy setback which caused him to miss the entire tournament, where France made the World Cup final back-to-back. Then in late February, Paul Pogba eventually made his second debut with Juventus when he came off the bench against Torino. However, in the Europa League match against Freiburg, Pogba was dropped because of disciplinary reasons due to him being late for a team dinner. Then a few days later, Pogba suffered a muscle injury and he would be out for around a month. Then Pogba came back, and in the Europa League match against Sevilla, he got the assist to level Juventus in the dying moments. However, after that in the game against Cremonese, he had to be subbed off again due to another muscle injury, and now he'll be out for the rest of the 22-23 season. This means that Pogba's total stats for the 22-23 season is 1 single assist in 10 games. Wow, this just sucks for Paul Pogba. As you can see, Pogba doesn't have that world-class aura about him anymore. It's not just his fault though, because he's been really unlucky with injuries, but you can't be a world-class player if you can't be on the pitch consistently for your team. Additionally, his output has drastically decreased, and his market value has dropped by 80 million euros. It sucks because Paul Pogba was one of my favorite players when he was initially at Juventus. However, a few years later, with some impressive performances here and there, it's safe to say that Paul Pogba might never return to his former world-class self on the pitch because of the injuries. Maybe there's still time for Pogba to turn it around for next season, but with him already being 30 years old, I'm afraid that Paul Pogba's legacy has already been written. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, please remember to subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And if you want to learn about our a French player who's doing really well this season, Kolo Muani, you should definitely check out this video right here. You won't regret it.